Good morning, San Diego. Thanks for making our day a part of yours here each and every Sunday morning. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's a beautiful morning here in San Diego, California, America's finest city. The final day of what is June gloom, although we didn't have too much June gloom this season, which is great to see the sunshine out here in San Diego for a wonderful summer. And how about them San Diego Padres the last couple of days? A lot better talking about Padres wins and the Padres playing well than talking about getting swept by the New York Mets and then hammered by the Philadelphia Phillies, which we did a little bit 2 weeks ago. Last weekend, the Padres flipped that around, but overall, in the last 10 games, the Padres are 9-1 in their last 10, have now played themselves to a 46-41 record, and during that time span, they have averaged 7.3 runs per game. Padres trying to get back-to-back sweeps, which would be great to see, especially for a team that had been unable to sweep teams for so long, not only throughout 2022, but also for the majority of 2023, until the Padres finally did it not too long ago, but then eventually doing it again against Washington and then against the Boston Red Sox. We keep waiting, and we have kept waiting for this team to go on what is considered a run. I would say winning 9 of 10 would be somewhat of a run. And during that time frame, they have been able to go back into the second wild card spot in the National League standings. They have now been able to cut the deficit with Atlanta down to, I'm pretty sure it's still 3 games on the overall games back. Yes, they've cut it down to 3 games. They have now given themselves a 1.5 game lead on St. Louis. And the Dodgers, who continue to play good baseball, they've been able to jump a couple more games up in the standings and be able to close the gap with LA. It's not in a strikeable distance yet, but still 7.5 games back out of first place. And we have seen this Padres team the last couple of games been absolutely outstanding in all phases of the game, despite having multiple catastrophic injuries on the season. I mean, we talk about it all the time with some other teams that the Padres are competing with in the division, like the Arizona Diamondbacks and San Francisco Giants, and those are teams that, they've done pretty well for having the injuries that they've had. We tend to forget some of the injuries the Padres have had. I mean, right now you have, Fernando's not necessarily, he's only making like $7 million this year, but you have Fernando Tatis Jr. on the IL. You got $25 million on the IL and Xander Bogaerts. You have an additional $15 million on the IL and Yu Darvish. You have an additional $20 million on the IL with Joe Musgrove. And up until this past week, where Manny Machado has been grinding through a nagging elbow injury that he addressed over the offseason and a hip flexor problem. I mean, you have had Manny Machado hurt from the majority of the season. I mean, think about all these injuries the Padres have had, and right now they're 5 games above 500. A couple other things with the San Diego Padres as of late. What I love about this team right now is, despite all of those injuries, I think it's actually helped out the Padres, and not from a clubhouse standpoint. I know a lot of people like to talk about, when Manny's playing and Fernando's not there, the team seems to do well. I don't buy into that conspiracy too much. But I will say this about what the injuries have created. They have created a next man up mentality in which young players that are either trying to prove themselves in Major League Baseball, Jackson Merrill, or other players that are not on big contracts and guys that are still have that grind and that hunt to go out there and give it their all every day. And not saying that the veteran guys don't, but there's a little bit of a difference there. You're seeing this team really hit their stride over the last 10 games. And every time that they had won in the last 10 games, they've scored at least 5 runs. They've scored 9 runs twice. They've scored 11 runs once. They've scored 8 runs once. They've scored 6 runs once, and they've scored 7 runs once. But they're just putting up some serious numbers in the month of June, which we know that they are more than capable of doing. Not only that, I mean, if you look at since June 19th, what the Padres have done, at the dish. And that's including some games with Fernando Tatis Jr. before he got hurt. But Jackson Merrill's hitting 366. We know about how hot he has been, especially in Boston, especially on the East Coast. I mean, talk about a guy who loves playing on the East Coast, being from the East Coast. He has done tremendous every time the Padres head east. But since June 19th, Jackson Merrill has hit 366 since June 19th. Kyle Higashioka, 348. Jake Cronenworth, 342. Jose Azocar's only had a couple of at-bats, but he went 1 for 3. And then even above that, I mean, Fernando, before he got hurt since June 19th, and his 11 at-bats that he had, he was hitting 455. Manny Machado has hit 415. And, you can throw Brett Sullivan in there, but he's had a pretty good stretch, including last night where he hit the home run. He's hit 375. I mean, right before Fernando goes on the injured list, he has a 455 batting average on June 19th and past, a 540 expected batting average, a 578 expected on base, an 892 expected slug, had an xWOBA, which is an expected weighted on base average of 617, and his BABIP was 444. That's a major contributor to the success that the Padres have had over this stretch, even though we haven't seen Fernando during a lot of that stretch. Only seen him for 12 plate appearances. Let's get to Manny Machado for a second. A 415 average, 337 expected batting average. So he is getting a couple of breaks here and there. His on base is 419, expected 360. Slug 732. His expected slug is only 568. So he's getting, the benefit of some ballparks in which he has done extremely well at Fenway Park. And a 397 xWOBA with a 382 BABIP. This team, since they had acquired Manny Machado, have gone with Manny Machado. And when Manny Machado is playing well, the San Diego Padres are playing well. He is the focal point of the team. Whether or not you want to call him a captain or not remains to be seen. Just know this, he doesn't necessarily want to be a captain, but he is the focal point of this organization and the one that they invested a lot of money in, who's been there time and time again since they had signed Manny Machado. And when Manny Machado is really good, the Padres are really good. And when Manny Machado struggles, the Padres struggle. It hasn't been the case in any other way besides that. There hasn't been too many situations where Manny's struggling and the rest of the team picks him up. This team plays off of Manny. Sometimes they get some sparks out of Fernando Tatis Jr. Sometimes they get some sparks out of a couple players here and there. But Manny Machado carries this team in a sense that when he does well, it's like it's contagious. And the 4 home runs since June 19th, he's obviously getting more comfortable with his elbow. He's really starting to swing it. And that's good news for the San Diego Padres games as well. Especially this last kind of push to the All-Star break where everybody could get a rest. But Manny Machado has been outstanding during this kind of run. Jackson Merrill has been outstanding during this run. The San Diego Padres are a team that was going to have to live off of all of their risky bets. And their risky bets were Jackson Merrill. Their risky bets were Jurickson Profar. Their risky bets were, surprisingly enough, going into spring training, we were talking about the closer situation. They had 4 guys back there that could potentially close because there was no guarantee that Robert Suarez could be an everyday closer. Hadn't seen it. He had battled a couple injuries. We've seen some bright spots, but then always in the back of your mind, you're thinking about the Bryce Harper home run, and you're thinking about his Major League debut against the Arizona Diamondbacks. But that was another risk for the Padres that they needed to take. They had to save some money in order to make some things happen. They rolled the dice on a couple of players, and so far it's really worked out for them, and they got to be able to keep it up in the second half. But in order for the Padres to be great, Jackson Merrill needed to play at about an average level. He has done way more than that. You were going to need guys like Jurickson Profar to just play at one of his better years, not necessarily his career year, but he's been playing at a career year, and now you're starting to get some of the stars. Most importantly, Manny Machado, because he's the one playing right now, playing at a very high level. It's great to see. And hopefully Xander Bogaerts can add to that when he comes back in July. Hopefully they could get Fernando Tatis Jr. back at some point during the season where he could play and not feel pain as he waits for his bone to heal in his femur. But these last couple of games have been outstanding. And you could talk about the Brewers series. They were playing really good against the Brewers, but I really think that the way that they reacted and the way that they handled the Washington Nationals situation is a big reason why they're continuing to have success. We've talked about this team a lot. We've talked about the way A.J. Preller builds a team and how sometimes he's not always building a team based on fit and based on, team camaraderie and the way everybody can pull the rope in the right direction. He goes and acquires talent and kind of force feeds different players into different spots. That's one way to do it. Again, you could go with the quote that Manny Machado had. This isn't college baseball, which he talked about last year. It's not like they all got to be buddies about it. But there's something about, I don't really want to use the term in the trenches, but there's something about being in there, fighting alongside somebody in hostile or, emotional moments that really pulls the team together. Because the way that they backed Profar on the antics by the Nationals, I mean, you could not admit to being more soft than the Washington Nationals were after Jurickson Profar walked it off against them on Monday. I mean, how soft of an organization do you have to be? And I understand. They've won a World Series, but that was soft. That was so soft that you get upset about a guy being overzealous about winning a game in the middle of June. The Jurickson Profar go a little bit. He went a little far, but at the same time, if you're a Major League Baseball player, why do you care? Why do you care? Who cares? You got to play another 80-something games of that. That's like the last time somebody's going to walk it off against you. It's not a game in September where your emotions are high and you're battling for a wild card spot and it's win or go home and every loss that you get hit with turns into feels like 10 losses and every win feels like 10 wins in the standings. No. We're talking about a dumb game in the middle of June that Jurickson Profar walked off, and all you did was poke the bear that we didn't even know as Padres fans they had it in them. We didn't even know they had it in them. It's been the mediocre Padres all season. And then what did the Nationals do? They poked the bear because they got their feelings hurt. You got your feelings hurt? You're grown men playing a child's game. Go cry in your paycheck. Who cares? That was so soft. Where's the Woody Harrelson picture from Zombieland where the guy's like wiping his tears with his money? Who cares? You play a child's game for a living. You lost the child's game. Don't act like a child. As ironic as that sounds. But in that process, you decided to piss off Jurickson Profar. Why would you do that? Did you not learn your lesson? Did you not learn your lesson when Will Smith pissed off Jurickson Profar? Are you kidding me? Why poke the bear? I see this all the time with like the youth of America now, coaching high school football. You'll go against teams, or even like our own team sometimes, where I sit there and like I see these kids and they from afar. And I hate this. I hate this when sidelines do this. Hate this. But, and I'm on my kids about it all the time. If you are the kid talking crap on the sideline and you're not in the game, shut your mouth. You ain't playing. You don't deserve to talk any type of smack, especially if you ain't going to go out there and play and potentially have to feel the wrath. This is kind of a side conversation. But it goes into the poking the bear. I mean, yesterday, I was at the Ramona tournament and see Gary Schneider, Coach Schneider there. How you doing? You should have said hi, Gary. I was right there, right behind you when West Hills was playing Torrey, or West Hills was playing Holtville. We were playing Escondido Charter, and for some reason, and I don't even think it was malicious, but Ramona was watching the game, and they had a higher seed, and it's 7-on-7. Well, 7-on-7 in general is just it is what it is. It gets you better, but there's a lot of puffing your chest out and stuff like that. Whatever. But Ramona, like their kids, were like overly cheering for Escondido Charter against which is fine, whatever. And I just think they were just having a good time. I don't think it was there any malintent. I don't think they were trying to root for Escondido Charter so they didn't have to play out, whatever it is. But in return, some of our kids didn't like that. And so now they had this extra motivation to play in this tournament that they didn't necessarily need. And they went on a roll and they ended up winning the tournament. But this isn't about high school football. The conversation is poking the bear. And what the Nationals did by being incredibly soft, again, this is I don't know how many times I have to say professional sports are an entertainment business. If you want an example of that, go look at the Lakers draft pick. It ain't about X's and O's. It ain't about winning and losing. It's about entertainment. You're in an entertainment field, Nationals. Don't get so upset when the entertainment is not in your favor. But in doing so, in freaking out about the way that you lost, in having your young catcher start poking Jerkson Profar and trying to tell as Annie Halbrin said it on the show, the longtime veteran that's done this before compared to Keibert Ruiz, who is just having a cup of coffee in Major League Baseball as of right now. He will be a good player. He is a good player. He'll be on the Nationals for a long time. But to have the young guy just start trying to lecture Jerkson Profar on how they do things was also incredibly comical. And all it did was piss off the Padres. That's all it did. And it pissed them off because after Manny Machado hit the bomb off Mackenzie Gore, which was the next at bat, the entire dugout dispersed into the field. Like I was doing a college softball game. Unbelievable. Why would you poke the bear? And since that moment, and I know the Padres did well against the Brewers, but I think since that moment, I've seen a little bit more spark out of these guys. I've seen a lot of energy. I've seen this team play, not that they weren't playing hard or trying to win. It just looks different. And I know they're not catching the Red Sox at the wrong time because the Boston Red Sox coming in were also a hot team. The Red Sox were hot coming in. The Padres have really cooled them off. And they got to be able to continue to build off this. And I said this during the week. I said, this seems like one of those events where it happens and it propels a team for a couple of weeks and ultimately gets them into a spot where it really escalates their season. It's a walk-off win. It's a comeback win. It's some type of scuffle. And the Padres seem to have had that kind of team camaraderie of, we're tired of this crap. We're not dealing with this. You pissed us off, and now we're going after it. I mean, that's just kind of the vibe that I'm getting right now. So a big thank you to the Washington Nationals for arguably being the softest baseball team in Major League Baseball, especially this year, and for poking the bear that we didn't know the Padres had in them. Winners of 9 of the last 10. The San Diego Padres will try to go for a sweep today. I'll come back with the lineup and talk more about why this team is so successful with Manny Machado. This is the Braden Surprenant Show just getting started. Short show today because we got the Padres pregame show coming up shortly on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Braden Surprenant Show live and local each and every Sunday morning from 8 to 10 usually. Today, we got to check the official time. Padres Red Sox, 10:35 a.m. Pacific time. So that means a 9:35 a.m. pregame show with Sam Levitt coming up next. So we're going to be up to about 9:30 today. So about 1 hour left on this show. Thanks again for all of you making our day a part of yours. Be sure to follow us on social media accounts. You can find me on all social media at B_SURP. That is X. That is Instagram. That is TikTok. And that is YouTube. So thanks to all of you watching on my YouTube page as well. Got 3 of you on there. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the 60 on the YouTube page on 97.3 The Fans YouTube page. Really appreciate you guys joining us. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, we do podcasts and other things on there as well. Be sure to do that. Subscribe to the Braden Surprenant Show on YouTube at B_SURP. Appreciate all of you again. Be sure to hit that like button. We're already up to 20 likes. Love to see it. Talking Padres baseball. Want to join the conversation? Throw some comments in the chat. Also, you can give us a phone call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I'm trying to get to some of the comments that you guys have talked about earlier during the Open. Obviously, we were talking about how great the Padres have been playing. I mean, they've been getting contributions for pretty much everybody, but the mainstay, of course, is Manny Machado. And Manny Machado is a big reason why this team has success. And when Manny has success, the team has success. And when Manny does not have success, a lot of the times the team doesn't have success either. And that's a lot of pressure to put on one individual. It's the reason why you give him the big bucks. But Manny Machado has been outstanding since June 19th, which has kind of started this run as the Padres have won 9 out of the last 10. During that time, Machado is second on the team in batting average at .415 during that stretch. He's 17 for 41, 12 singles, a double, 4 pumps, and only 4 punch-outs. A pretty good job by Manny Machado during this time. As for today, we do have the lineup out, obviously, because the game is an early morning. As Sam Levitt would like to say, Padres and pancakes in the morning on the morning show. Padres lineup today as follows. Luis Arraez leads off and plays first base. Jurickson Profar bats second and will play left. Jake Cronenworth will bat third and play second base. Manny Machado, the cleanup hitter, and the designated hitter today. Donovan Solano plays third base. He bats fifth. Jackson Merrill in center and bats sixth. Kim in the 7th spot, playing shortstop, batting eighth. Kyle Higashioka in catching. And Brian Johnson will play right field and bat ninth for the San Diego Padres. I did see one comment in there, and I think it's interesting, from Brandon619. How do you see the infield looking when X comes back? Well, it's going to be a couple of weeks away. The interesting thing to me is Donovan Solano has had a great season with the Padres so far. I mean, he has been a great pickup for San Diego. During that stretch, he's only hit .281, but overall in the year, he has been magnificent for the Padres. I mean, this is a guy that and we saw this in a recent Kevin Acee article, conversations about bringing back Tommy Pham. The Padres wanted to bring back Tommy Pham, but they weren't going to spend what Tommy Pham wanted in order to bring him back. Waited for Tommy Pham to make a decision, and when he did, Donovan Solano was kind of the backup plan for the Padres. But Donovan Solano this year for San Diego hitting .286 with an expected on base of .272, an on base of .359, .397 slug, 3 home runs, as he has gone 36 for 126. I mean, for a guy like Donovan Solano, you can't ask for anything better. That's a great pickup for the Padres. Another one of those roll the dice pickups. So when you look at what the infield is going to be like after X comes back, I think you have to go like, well, we got to get Donovan Solano in the lineup as well. Like, Solano's not going to play in the infield. He might be a DH perhaps, But you got to have a logjam, and that's a good thing to have. You can have Donovan Solano come off the bench. You could spot start him. But for me, when X comes back, I think you got to put him back at second base. Or maybe, now here's the conversation. Maybe Kim is a role player now. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit better, but what is your best chance of succeeding with the lineup you have? You need Luis Ariz in the lineup. You need Jake Cronenworth in the lineup. You need Xander Bogaerts in the lineup. You need Manny Machado in the lineup. Those are 4 right there. You could use Donovan Solano in the lineup. He's out hitting Kim as well. So maybe you move Bogaerts back to shortstop. Maybe that was part of the struggles that Bogaerts had before he got hurt. Not to say it was a big mental thing there as well, in fielding independent than hitting. But your best chance to win is to get more at-bats out of Xander Bogaerts and less at-bats out of Ha-Seong Kim, and then late innings, maybe you move things around, you take Luis Ariz out of the game as a defensive replacement. I know there's a sense of you have to trade Ha-Seong Kim because he doesn't really fit this mold anymore based on what you have and where you need to play guys, but you're not going to be able to get rid of him for anything. You're not going to be able to turn him into a starting pitcher with a team that's bad because he's a rental at this point. There are some teams that are in the market for a rental shortstop. But even those teams, they're not going to really give you anything. Maybe you use a deal. Here's thinking outside the box a little bit. And I know Preller's already doing this because the guy's always trying to find ways to improve the roster. But something you could do with Kim is you trade Kim to a contender that needs a shortstop or a rental that doesn't mind the rental. They need the shortstop. You get a couple of pieces back, maybe a piece or two. That's lower level. And then you package that to a deal to go get a pitcher somewhere else. I mean, you could probably do that. But I don't know how much value that's going to have. So, interesting. In terms of that answer, though, what would I do with I would honestly, in a perfect world, aside and not factoring in people's feelings, I'm probably putting Manny at third. I'm putting Bogaerts at short. I'm putting Cronenworth at second. I'm putting Ariz at first. I'd rather have Ariz as a DH. I mean, Ariz is an okay fielder. He's not a great fielder. I know he likes playing second base, but he's not a better second baseman than Jake Cronenworth. So I'd either put Ariz at first or I'd put Solano at first and the other one would DH. That would be my infield per se. And then obviously when Tatis comes back, he's back in the outfield. And then you go from there. But I have Kim as a defensive replacement late. And I think you can move pieces around where you can have him in the infield. And then you can move, you could take Ariz out of the lineup if Xander's hitting well. But Xander's a good fielder. So you could take Ariz out of the lineup as part of that defensive replacement if he's playing first. Cronenworth moves back to first. You can move Bogaerts to second, and you can have Kim play short. And then you're set for the defense. That's kind of how I would do it. I had some people going in the comments that said, I thought you were going to go to this trip. I really wanted to. It wasn't going to work out with vacation days and other things that I had to do, so I was unable to go. But I see some of you have been able to go, and it looked like we had a lot of Padres fans there. We'll talk about the Padres takeover when we come back. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every Sunday morning on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 8:41 on a Sunday morning, leading you up to the Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. That will be starting at 9:35 a.m. Pacific time, as Sam said. Padres and pancakes. Although he's walking around, and so is Frank. I don't see any pancakes. Where are my pancakes? If you're going to do the Padres and pancake show, aren't you guys going to enjoy some pancakes while you talk Padres? I need some pancakes here. Maybe I'll go home and make pancakes. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. It's been a fun weekend for Padres fans. We've seen a couple of people, Charisma in the chat, talking about her trip. That is the coolest thing about the schedule change is now you get to play everybody every year, but every other year you play in every ballpark. And so when you want to go check out new ballparks, you can go and check out new ballparks. You just got to wait 1 year or 2 years. Last year I did the Yankees trip. It was so much fun. And we were going to do the Red Sox trip, but it was too many moving parts. My family has a thing in San Clemente we do once a year, and that was this week by happenstance. We had other things going on. I had passing league tournaments and all this other stuff, plus other days off that I have to take later in the year. So I was unable to do the trip, but Fenway's on my list. And I counteracted that by jumping on my brother's drive home from Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the College World Series champion, Tennessee Volunteers. But we did a baseball tour on the way home, like on a drive. I tagged along for the first leg, so I was able to kind of do a baseball trip on my own. So I watched them go to Cincinnati. I watched the Padres go to Cincinnati, and then I went to a Cubs game where they played Atlanta, which was fun. But I think at this point, I don't think I've been to double-digit stadiums yet, but Fenway's definitely on my list, and it sounds like Charisma said it was a great time, and the people there were pretty cool to Charisma and her family, as well as a lot of other Padres fans. And we had taken over Fenway Park the last couple of days, so hopefully everybody didn't leave too early. Hopefully we got a nice little day game showing as well, as the Padres have just taken it to the Red Sox the last 2 days, which is great to see. Hopefully they could sweep Boston at Fenway. Be good for Xander and company, even though Xander's not playing. Good for Don Orsillo coming back. Kind of the way the couple of things that have happened to him since then from the Red Sox organization. It'd be nice to have him leave with a sweep. But it sounds like it was a great time for everybody that went out there and loved the support. And that's the cool thing about the Padres right now is you're starting to see Padres fans all over the place throughout the country, which is great to see. I want to get your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to the phone. Let's go up to San Marcos where Nate's standing by. Nate, what's going on?
Hey, good morning. Just real excited that, ever since that Nationals series of games that, they have this competitive nature. I know Ben and Woods had talked, I don't know how many weeks ago, how, they were kind of sad to see that, some of our players were patting other players on the back instead of being, competitive. I think they found that kind of happy medium where, you got that competitive spirit and it's kind of struck a fire with the whole team. And I think it's beautiful. At the beginning of the year, I figured the Padres would win 100 games, 101. And then they lost, they got swept those 3 series, and I'm like, okay. But I think it's still possible. I think that, I'm going out on a limb, but I think the Padres could actually win the NL West if everything falls together. If not, that's okay. But at this point, I think they can run over any teams at any given day.
I don't think you're that far off on the National League West thing. That's actually an interesting topic. And Nate, I appreciate the phone call. Thanks again for joining us today, and hopefully we get to talk to you in the future. But Nate's got. So I keep looking at the standings, and I keep going like this is still like within striking distance with a team that they have already proven that they could beat more times than not. I mean, if you look at last year at this time, today's June 30th. Last year at this time, the San Diego Padres were 11.5 games out of first place. Now, Arizona was in first place, but still 11.5 games out of first place. and they were 9.5 games behind the Dodgers at this point in time last season. In 2022, the San Diego Padres on June 30th, again, today, in 2022, when the Padres ended up going on a run, they were 2.5 games out of first place, so it wasn't that crazy. In the second half, the Dodgers really went on a roll. And then in 2021, the last one we're going to look at here, in June of 2021, on June 30th, the Padres, again, were relatively in it, I guess, at 2.5 games back. But the difference is, I think, with this team is I think the competition is the biggest difference. This is a Dodgers team that is not – they're not as scary as they've been in the past. And they now have significant injuries too, with guys like Mookie Betts being down. And they got a couple other players that have been battling injuries. Their bullpen hasn't been very good. Their starting pitching is not nearly as good as it's been in the past. They're a very beatable team. They're not this world beater team. Like the Phillies this year have taken over as what the Dodgers have been the last 10 years. And out of all of those Dodgers teams that we have seen win the division, this is relatively one of their worst teams. They're still really good. I mean, they're not a bad baseball team. They're only a couple of games behind Philadelphia in the standings anyway. That's not what I'm saying. But in comparison to all the other Dodgers teams, this is not one of their better ones. I mean, their bottom half of their order sucks. It's not good. I mean, it's not good. Their bottom three guys in the lineup are not good. Their top three guys, when fully healthy, are arguably probably the best three combo in Major League Baseball. But their bottom half, not good. Not good. Not good. Pitching staff's okay. It's not as lights out as it used to be, and their bullpen's not that great. That's why I think, to get on the Padres a little bit, because the narrative has been the entire season, and they'll never admit it, but they're satisfied with just kind of being in that spot, a playoff spot. And in reality, I mean, I can't be talking out of both sides of my mouth here. The last couple of years, I have said, you don't need to win the division and have success. The Padres proved that in 2022. It's like, who cares what you do against the Dodgers? Who cares if you win the division? Just get in, and you only got to beat them 3 times. So with that philosophy, that's obviously it's a philosophy to have as an organization. But it would be nice to win the division. I just, in Major League Baseball, is winning the division important anymore? In a sense of, like, do teams care about winning the division? I mean, if they do it, they're going to celebrate. They're going to pop the champagne. But overall, are they, like, when teams get eliminated from the division race and they're still in a playoff spot, are they devastated like they failed? I don't think they are. I think it really is about, let's just get in the playoffs. And I think that's the case for a lot of teams. I mean, I think teams that cruise early in the season, I think they like being the division winner. I think it's cool to say, hey, we won the division. But, is based on how many teams make the postseason and based on the new schedule, have they made winning the division in Major League Baseball more like winning the division in the NBA, where it's like, why? Does anybody even know who wins the divisions in the NBA? Does anybody pay attention to that? Same with the NHL. Does anybody really pay attention when you have 16 teams making the postseason? And I'm all in favor of 16 teams in the playoffs for Major League Baseball. But, like, how is the value of a division championship down now, where teams are like, yeah, we're cool just being in we're just cool just being in a playoff spot. Especially in a sport like baseball, where anything can happen in the sport. Anything can happen in the sport, especially with all the pitching matchups and series size and all that fun stuff. But they're definitely within. I mean, they're keeping it. They're hanging around, and with some of the injuries, they could probably put that together. Let's go out to Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch standing by. Mitch, what's going on? How's your Sunday?
Oh, it's going pretty well, Braden. How you doing? We could get some rain here, so cool things off.
Well, it's good.
And then it just starts all over again with humidity, but that's the way it is. So winter is some of the worst months in my book. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely don't want any more than 16 teams. I mean, you see what the NFL's done. Seven teams make the playoffs in each conference. I think 6 is enough. Let's not go for 16. I don't really like the college football thing, but I'm getting off topic and changing, breaking down conferences. I hope they don't do that in baseball now. No, I don't want. You don't want to see the San Diego in the Eastern Conference next year, right? That would be crazy. By the way, I think the best 3 guys in the lineup, I think ever, and they all passed away, but Cepeda, Mays, and McCovey. That was some 3, 4, 5 hitters. I guess nowadays they'd be, batting lead off, second and third, which I can't stand, but that's a subject for another day. I just liking how Padres have been hitting, and like there's 2 devastating injuries, and plus Manny Machado's on himself. We could be in, and we're gonna have Rookie of the Year, and maybe we'll find some money, and we can get Soto next year. Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Well, I appreciate that, Mitch. Thanks again for making that call. A couple of things to break down there. They're obviously not going to move the divisions around too much, but I don't mind the playoff expansion for the sake of, again, this is not about professional sports are not about sports and finding the number 1 champion. Professional sports are about entertainment. And what's more entertaining than a playoff game? Nothing. Ain't nothing more entertaining than a playoff game. Playoff games are more exciting than regular season games. People like watching them. People pay a lot of money to watch those games. They're going to expand the playoff eventually. It's probably done the next CBA. They might go 7-7. Now, the NFL, I think it's a little bit different because I think expanding the playoff in the National Football League is dumb in a sense that you cannot play that sport every day, and you're already asking these guys to play the sport probably too many times in a calendar year. But again, it's about entertainment. It's not about the players. It's not about the sport. It's not about finding a champion in the fairest way possible. It's about entertainment, and you're there to be entertained. And that's what it's going to be. If you want an example of that, just look at the NBA draft. People could talk about nepotism all they want. Bronny James getting outplayed by a local product here in Boogie Ellis all year long. Guy was coming off the bench, right? And Boogie Ellis was dropping 15 a game, and Bronny was dropping like 5 a game, and Bronny got drafted, and Boogie got signed after the draft. Now, Boogie's obviously not the same size as Bronny, obviously the same pedigree. There's a lot of different factors in there. But you could talk about nepotism all you want, but at the end of the day, what are sports about? They're about entertainment. Who's going to fill seats? Bronny James is. Bronny James can fill seats just by playing 5 or 6 minutes. Why? Because people want to watch him play with his dad. It's entertaining. It's entertainment. I think the Lakers drafting him was kind of a joke. Them bringing in J.J. Redick to be their head coach is kind of a joke. See if it works. It's kind of made the Lakers a clown organization. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not about winning and losing. It's not about finding a champion. It's about entertainment. And you're entertained with watching Bronny play with LeBron. People are going to tune in for that. Don't tell me you're not going to tune in and watch that. I'm not an NBA fan. I don't care about the NBA. I think the NBA, out of all the professional sports leagues, is the worst to watch. But I will say this. If you got Bronny James suiting up for the Lakers, which who knows if he ever will, playing with his dad, I got to watch. That is much-watch television. That's going to be a hefty ticket price. It's about entertainment. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. You get your phone calls when we come back. Only got about a segment and a half left on the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every Sunday morning. San Diego's number 1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 2, although it's not going to be that long of an hour, we got the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show starting up in about a half hour, 9:35 a.m. Pacific time, as Sam Levitt is getting ready to go for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. Padres trying to get a sweep of the Boston Red Sox today. Got another friend that is at the game in Boston at Fenway Park, and he said Padres fans are just pouring in to Fenway. It's great. Great to see. It's great to see the Padres fans taking over Fenway Park, and hopefully the Padres can continue that success moving forward. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you want to weigh into the show, give us a call. If not, you can throw it into the chat on 97 Through the Fans YouTube page. Be sure to follow us on that or subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube page at B_SURP. And a big thanks to you watching on my YouTube page as well. We are broadcasting live on Facebook. We're live on Twitch. We're also on X. You can follow me at B_SURP. You can also follow the fan at 97 Through the Fan SD on X as well. All of my social media accounts have the same handle, at B_SURP. Padres have been playing just a way better baseball after the entire incident with the Washington Nationals, and I think that's been a major factor in why the Padres have had so much success. And I think you can talk about just the way that teams interact with each other individually and when they come together as a team. And a lot of it happens on major events or major situations, whether it be a fight that breaks out with the other team, whether it be a walk-off winner. Now, obviously, just using some baseball examples, whether it be a big comeback for the ages. I mean, all these things spark teams, but also bring them together as a team. And I think that is something that is really building right now with this Padres team, in which they have now won 9 of their last 10 and has to continue to put this team on a roll. Winners of 5 straight. And sweeping a team like the Boston Red Sox would be great, especially with their pedigree, but also with how well they've been playing this season. And then it leads into a final stretch as you start the month of July with Texas and Arizona, the World Series matchup from last year, Seattle and Atlanta. It would be nice to be within 3 games of Atlanta before they come to town, where you could potentially pass them in the wild card standings. But this Padres team playing extremely well right now. A lot of it coming from Manny Machado. You're getting some great contributions from Kyle Higashioka. You're getting great contributions, obviously, from Jackson Merrill. And the ball this weekend has just been leaving the yard at Fenway Park. Manny's comfortable playing there. And apparently so is Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill has been such a bright spot to this Padres team. And in fact, he's been such a bright spot for the San Diego Padres. A.J. Preller, who was on MLB Network Radio earlier, had this to say about Jackson Merrill and what he brings to the team.
He's just kind of met every challenge we've asked of him, in terms of, offensively, defensively, handling himself in the minor leagues. He's a big-time competitor. He's a big-time worker. He loves to win. He plays to win, which, it seems like kind of something that would be obvious, but, it definitely stands out for our group and our team. And then, asking him to make the switch to center field, he got a little bit of taste of the outfield last year, and he's taken to it really well. And I think it speaks to his athleticism, his skill set, and just his ability to adapt and make adjustments and honestly work and grow. So I think a lot of the things you saw as an amateur, and then obviously last year in that futures game, we're seeing it day to day here, and he's helping us win baseball games at the big league level as a rookie, which is a hard thing to do.
It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and right now it's working out for San Diego. And the big warning I had at the beginning of the year was, the Padres have never been a team that has been able to treat or help out their minor league guys, and they've really thrown them into the fire, and it's never really been, it's never really worked out that well for them. But so far, it has been a great performance. Not even a good performance. I mean, the guy's been playing out of his mind for the Padres, and a big factor in why the San Diego Padres decided to part ways with C.J. Abrams. The big reason that the Padres made that trade with the Nationals, obviously at the time, was they needed to get Juan Soto to make a playoff run, and it worked out for the Padres, I think, in that sort of sense. I mean, he got him into the playoffs, helped the team get in the playoffs. It was a big factor in the postseason as well. It was good to have Juan Soto on the club. That was a deal you had to make at the time. And obviously, I think the only name on that list that is really potentially going to hurt you would be James Wood, who is making his debut for the Nats on Monday. But the reason why, there's a couple of reasons why they parted with C.J. Abrams, and one of them that I got from the organization was they had Jackson Merrill ready to go. And they liked Jackson Merrill more than they liked C.J. Abrams. And that's what it came down to. They were able to flip Abrams because they know that one of their athletes that they like in the minor leagues, which was a couple of years away at the time, was Jackson Merrill. And Jackson Merrill has proven a lot of that so far in his first half of Major League Baseball, in his first season of Major League Baseball. And whether or not he can keep it up will be a different thing. And we've seen a lot of rookies struggle in their second years in Major League Baseball. We've seen a lot of rookies of the year, not even pan out. But Jackson Merrill, he's the type of guy right now that you need part of the Padres organization to be that young spark, to be that gritty player, the guy that's going to go out there and give it his all to show everybody that he can play and compete at a major league level. I mean, we talk about, not necessarily we, but just the media in general talk about the three Jacksons, right? Jackson Chourio, Jackson Merrill, and Jackson Holliday. And Jackson Holliday got all the hype with Baltimore because of his pedigree of coming and being the son of Matt Holliday. And you see the videos on TikTok and stuff, how hard he can hit a baseball and all that other stuff. And, he was kind of the big product of the Jacksons. And then Jackson Chourio, another guy that has already signed a contract extension with Milwaukee. He signed it before he even made it to the major leagues. That's another Jackson that's part of this, 20, 21-year-old group with Jackson Merrill. And Jackson Merrill has outplayed both of them this year by far. But he was the one that was the least talked about coming up because he was the one that the Padres seemed like they were rushing to the big leagues because they needed somebody to play in center field. And he has done better than expected on all aspects of his game. I was never really worried about his fielding just because the kid's an athlete. And I think there's too many times where we overhype how difficult it is to play defense in Major League Baseball. Is it difficult for the common man? Absolutely. Is it difficult for high-level athletes? No, it is not. It's the same equivalent as having one of the best little leaguers be able to play all over the place. It's not like when you were growing up, whoever the best player was at your little league or then eventually in high school or even in college, where you're like, you know what? I don't think he could play first. It's a little bit different over there. I don't know if our best player who plays shortstop could play center field. I mean, I don't know why that was even a discussion. Is it difficult to do in Major League Baseball? Yeah, it is. For the common man. Not for a kid like Jackson Merrill that's been probably the best baseball player everywhere he has been. So I was never really worried about his fielding. He's done an exceptional job at the major league level, learning how to play center field, and he hasn't missed a beat. I mean, the Padres have not missed a beat defensively in center by putting Jackson Merrill out there in comparison to what they had the last couple of years. Offensively, guy could tag a fastball. Guy could tag a fastball better than anybody else. It almost seems like. If you look at his baseball savant page, he unloads on the fastball. Most of his home runs are off the fastball. There's a couple of times where he's still learning how to hit the off speed. He hasn't really been tested with too much of that yet. But he's learned how to hit the fastball in any part of the zone and fastball in the inside part of the plate. And it's why I continue to say this guy needs to get a contract extension as soon as possible in order to save money in the long run. I mean, we already talked about Jackson Chourio. Jackson Chourio's already got a contract extension that he signed while in the minor leagues. He signed it before he even played one game in Major League Baseball. 8-year, $82 million. Getting 2.25 this year, 4.25 next year, 7.25. It's relatively affordable, and then it kicks up to $15 million in 2029 when the guy's going to be 25 or 26 years old. And if everything plays out to what the Brewers think Jackson Chourio is going to be, when he's 27, 28, and 29 in his prime, he's going to be making like $16 million. That's going to be almost what you're going to have to get a veteran player for in free agency. It's probably time to start thinking about it with a guy like Jackson Merrill. And so with all these injuries that the Padres have suffered with Xander Bogaerts and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado battling through some, the godsend this year has been Jackson Merrill, and it has been Jurickson Profar. Two great pickups for the Padres this season. Two roll-of-the-dice moves that have worked out for the Padres this season. Padres and Red Sox Game 3 coming up very shortly. We got the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt coming up at 9:35. We're going to quickly preview and give you a pregame show when we come back. Want to get your phone calls as well, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. This is the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every Sunday morning. Thanks for making our day a part of yours, leading you into the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Blink-182 playing tonight at Petco Park. Wendy Clear, probably one of my favorite Blink-182 songs. So hopefully you guys all have a good time watching San Diego's band come back to San Diego playing at Petco Park tonight. Saw people in the chat talking about Blink. And hopefully you guys have a good time at the concert. And hopefully we're celebrating a Padres sweep of the Boston Red Sox. Should be a fun game today for the Padres as they take on the Red Sox, trying to go for a sweep, trying to win their sixth straight game, trying to get their second consecutive sweep, as they have already knocked off the Nationals in 3 games. Padres come into the game 46-41. Red Sox are 43-39. Padres are 3 games behind Atlanta for that top wild card spot in the National League wild card standings. Padres are 7.5 games behind the Los Angeles Dodgers, who will play the San Francisco Giants tonight, or this afternoon, in a series that is tied at 1. Dodgers came back and scored 7 runs in the top half of the 11th inning to take a 14-7 lead on the Giants last night and ended up hanging on to beat San Francisco. So Giants not really helping us out too much in terms of the division standings. As for today's matchup, it's Matt Waldron for the Padres going against Josh Winkowski. Matt Waldron, 5-6 on the season. I don't know why I won't pull up the game day thing for me on MLB.com. Just wants to give me an Instagram story instead, which is super lame. Matt Waldron is 5-6 with a 3.43 ERA. He has been, during this stretch of games for the Padres, their best pitcher in the rotation. He has really embraced the knuckleball. He's really been a godsend with the knuckleball, and being the only guy to throw it in Major League Baseball is a huge asset to have, because not only do teams not see it all the time, they don't really work on it a lot, especially when you're playing teams that you only have to see once a year. You're not going to spend too much time on the knuckleball and to take your chances with it. Today's lineup for the San Diego Padres: Luis Arraez bats leadoff and plays first base. Jurickson Profar batting second in the left field. Jake Cronenworth bats third and plays second. Manny Machado, the designated hitter, bats fourth. Donovan Solano bats fifth and will play third base. Jackson Merrill in center field bats sixth. Ha-Seong Kim batting seventh will play shortstop. Kyle Higashioka, who now has 9 home runs on the season. We were guaranteed 10 with Higashioka. He's now up to 9. Might go over the 10. He will bat 8th and catch for Matt Waldron today. And then Brian Johnson, will play right field and be the switch hitter. And be the right field, be the right fielder and bat 9th tonight for the San Diego Padres against the lineup for the Red Sox: Duran, Hamilton, Abreu, Devers, Valdez, Yoshida, Smith, McGuire, and Rafaela. The lineup for the Boston Red Sox, as they will start today at 10:35 a.m. Pacific time. Again, the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show will be up in about less than 10 minutes here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Padres, in the next couple of games, are going to be taking on, to finish up their first half, even though they're already in the second half game-wise, but finishing off the ceremonial first half. We'll have an off day tomorrow and then go down to Texas for 3. They got the Arizona Diamondbacks for 3 at home, followed by 2 games against the Mariners with off days on either side of that series, and then a 3-game series against the Atlanta Braves here at home on the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th of July, leading into the All-Star break. They will have the Saturday game against Atlanta will be an earlier start time, a 4:15 start time instead of the usual 5:40 start time coming up, because that game will be on national television. It will be on Fox. According to ESPN, no announced starter for the Padres coming up against Texas, but they will have Cease and Vasquez slated on Wednesday and Thursday down in Texas, where we have a lot of familiar faces down there, obviously, with the Padres and the Texas Rangers, Profar, Darvish, to name a couple, as well as A.J. Preller. We all know about those. Should be a fun series down in Texas as well, but the Padres trying to take care of business today against the Boston Red Sox. I'm Braden Surprenant. Thanks again for tuning in to the Braden Surprenant Show today. It's been a fun day with all of you. Be sure to follow us on social media at B_SURP, at BSURP on X, BSURP on YouTube, BSURP on Instagram, and BSURP on TikTok. As you can follow all of our stuff. Thanks to all of you for tuning in on Braden Surprenant's page, as well as on the YouTube page and on Twitch. Again, we are here each and every Sunday, so if you're here early for the pregame show with Sam, you can get some Padre fix every Sunday morning from 8 to 10. Talk a lot of Padres baseball. We'll also start mixing in some football. College football is right around the corner. I already know high school football is around the corner because high school football, we've been doing the 7-on-7 stuff for the last couple of weeks. Only a couple of more tournaments left, and then we can finally dive into real high school football at the beginning of August. Today is the last day of June, and once July runs around, it is time to get into football time. The NFL will start heating up again later on in the summertime, and we'll have some jam-packed shows throughout the rest of the summer. But leading into football season, as Jake Waters in the chat mentions, college football media days are just a couple of weeks out, which means you're going to see for the first time all of these brand new conferences start showing up. It was funny. Yesterday, somebody noticed that the Pac-12 website has now eliminated all of the logos of the 10 teams that are departing from the Pac-12. And so now they still have the Pac-12 logo, but they only have 2 teams on it because it's just Oregon State and Washington State. That's it. So if you look at like the Pac-12 website, and I'm going to see if I could find a spot for you and pull it up. They literally just have two logos on it. As I pull up the page, it's really insane. I mean, this is now the beginning. In about a month, or really July 1st, I think is when teams start to move. Starting tomorrow, the Pac-12 and everything as we've known it is now gone. So look at the Pac-12 website. Oregon State and Washington State, and that's it. It's Tupac. It's basically just Tupac. Pac-2, Pac-2, Tupac. Pac-12 minus 10, as Trevor puts in the chat. 100%. 100%. That's where we're at right now. But it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I've already seen. It is sad. It's sad to see, especially on the West Coast, to see, not a prominent West Coast conference out here, in Division I college athletics and Power 5 college athletics. It's brutal to see. But, I mean, we talked about it to start the show. We'll start the show with this. We'll end the show with this, about poking the bear. The University of Texas, who has not accomplished really anything over the last 20-something years. They finally made the playoff for the first time by winning the Big 12 for the first time since 2009. Think about that for the program that Texas thinks they are. Their quarterback, again, you like to see the confidence, but their quarterback in Quinn Ewers has already said, in an interview that we're going to be everybody's number one game. Are you kidding me in the SEC? Are you kidding me? We're going to be everybody's number one game. The SEC has way bigger fish to fry than the University of Texas. I mean, the top teams in the SEC have accomplished way more in the last 20 years than Texas has in the last 50 years. And I'm not a big, stoke the fires of the SEC. It does mean more out there. It definitely means more out there in the Southeastern Conference. But you could pull up Texas's schedule. And if you pull up Texas's schedule, look at the teams they play and tell me that's their biggest game. I mean, they got Michigan in week 2. Is their biggest game Texas? Where's Jake Waters at? Jake, I know you're a Michigan guy. Is Texas the name that you're just like, this is our game? Texas is our biggest game. Give me a break. It might be UTSA's biggest game. It might be Louisiana Monroe's biggest game. It ain't Mississippi State's biggest game. They got the Egg Bowl. It ain't Georgia's biggest game. It's not Vanderbilt's biggest game. It ain't Florida's biggest game. It might be Arkansas's biggest game, and it might be A&M's biggest game. But you think Michigan's biggest game is Texas? Get out of here, Texas. They're going to be falling down very quickly. We'll see how it goes for them. Fun show with all of you. Thanks again. If you haven't done it yet, drop a like on the YouTube video, and we'll talk to you next week. Coming up next, EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt, followed by Padres baseball. As the Padres try to sweep the Red Sox today. Live and local all the time on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.